Hello, I'm Kevin Field, and this is episode 1 of Radio Skills for Podcasters, Knowing Your Audience.
Learn the secrets of the radio industry.
Create powerful podcasts.
Get,
keep,
and grow your audience.
and increase your profits.
This is Radio Skills for Podcasters.
Radio Skills for Podcasters.
With Kevin Field.
Enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome. This is Radio Skills for Podcasters, and I'm Kevin Field. Each week with this podcast, we look at the skills of the radio industry and how you can employ them in your podcast to take it to the next level. My aim is to help you get, keep, and grow your audience by creating powerful podcasts.
This is Radio Skills for Podcasters.
Radio Skills for Podcasters, its aim is to improve your game. Actually, I've stolen that. There's no new ideas, is there? American Golf. That's what they say. American Golf. We exist to improve your game. And I think it's so apt to what they do. It's a great strapline. So, really, Radio Skills for Podcasters, we exist to improve your podcast. American Golf has a PGA Pro in every store. They offer club fitting, they offer inspiration and advice to golfers. They love golf and they want to inspire other golfers. At Radio Skills for Podcasters, I'm your radio pro. My club fitting is the presenter or producer toolbox that I'm going to talk about throughout these podcasts. And I love radio and I love podcasts. Each episode of Radio Skills for Podcasters offers advice and guidance on a particular subject matter or some shared subject, and each is around just 10 minutes. In this episode, we're looking at knowing your listener or knowing your audience, and we'll delve into that in a few moments. We also have the top tips in each episode, this time connected to knowing your audience, a simple task you can carry out that will help your audience know you better. And I'd love your feedback at radio_skills on Twitter, Radio Skills for Podcasters on Facebook, and email skills@radioskillsforpodcasters.com. And of course, that's the website too. Get in touch if you've got something that you'd like me to cover on Radio Skills for Podcasters. What is your podcast pain? Get in touch. Let's get into this week's main feature.
Radio Skills.
How do you know the person that listens to your podcast is the ideal listener, the target listener? In radio, we used to call them P1. Some people still do. P1 stands for position 1 on the dial. Every radio station wants someone to be position 1 on the dial as soon as they get in the car. How do we make your listener P1 for you? Most businesses know their audience by what they're trying to sell, whether it's a brand of entertainment, comedy, music, a product of some sort, or information. There are several ways to get to know your audience, and we only have around 10 minutes to talk about this. We'll just touch on the surface here. I promise you, though, that there'll be further detail and further episodes and some details on the Radio Skills for Podcasters website in the future that'll delve a bit further into this, because it's a complex area. But with an overview now, hopefully we'll get some of that to you to help you out. As a marketing manager of a radio station in the past, I used to work closely with the program director. We'd look at demographics, life stages, tribes, modes, and the brand of you. We used these to help create a marquee or an avatar of who our listener was. We then know how to sell this to our on-air team, so our on-air team can target our ideal listener. Demographics are a statistical study of populations. In the UK, it's a basic science, but it's helped us understand the age ranges, earning potential, and groups of people who lived in our broadcast area. Each demographic is given a letter number reference, for example, ABC1s or C2DEs. There's a cool website called abc1demographic.co.uk. Check it out. It explains a little more detail on demographics. That's abc1demographic.co.uk. Life stages. This helps us understand the different stages people share in their lives, even if they earn different money or are in different backgrounds, a different demographic. A man in his 30s may well be into the same music as a man in his 40s. They may well like the same clothing brands, cologne. They may go home to their mum at the weekends, get a lovely dinner, but one's in his 30s, one is in his 40s. But they live similar life stages. Tribes. This is different people who are into specific brands or love specific programs or have common interests that they're really hot on and they share. They could come from any demographic or life stage. They may be into a particular brand that they absolutely love. For example, Apple lovers. And they all love Apple and they'll always tell each other that. You can put these people in a room together and they'll get along just fine within moments because of their tribe. The brand of you is a marketing strategy that I came up with many years ago for radio stations, and I use when providing coaching sessions. It is essentially the brand of you that matches to the brands you choose. If you can align your business, radio station or podcast with the brands your target chooses, you could be onto a winner. To understand who your listener is, you need to take the demographic, their life stage, tribes, and brand of you, and you can form a marquee or avatar of your listener. So you can write down the essential things about that person. Their brand, what holiday they go on, where they eat, what do they drink, why do they do what they do, and why do they want your service? Next step in understanding your audience is what you say. Why do they want your service? Does it have legs? Are you solving their pain? Are you offering what they want and need? Now, many of the radio stations I've worked for over the years look at this very closely, the want and the need of their listener. So the want is along the lines of having a desirable possession, a desire to do something, a wish for, a hope for, an inclination for, a care for, like. Something to set one's heart on. I want entertaining speech. I want to laugh. I want to learn about something. I want to hear some good music. Need is when we require something because it's essential. It's very important rather than just desirable like a want. You need to learn how to upload a podcast. You need travel news to keep moving. You need to know the weather for later today. Interestingly, there's a crossover with wants and needs. You've got your social armory people and you've got your modes. People are in mum mode, dad mode, friend mode. This all links into understanding your P1 ideal listener. That listener that's position 1 on the dial, they choose you every time. So you need to cater for their wants and needs. There's so much more. There really is. More detail in this area and understanding your listener. We've just skimmed the surface. I'll go into more in future podcasts and at radioskillsforpodcasters.com. Next, though, it's our tip of the week.
Learn the secrets of the radio industry.
Radio skills for podcasters.
Top tip for this week. This week's top tip is, it'll help you understand your current listener. Now, I do this with radio presenters. I do this with talent, on-air talent. It's usually a task I carry out in the Brand of You workshops as well. So what I want you to do is take a piece of paper and write down 10 things you know to be true about you. Can be more if you want, but it can't be less. It has to be 10. Then what I want you to do is get another piece of paper and write down 10 things you know to be true about your podcast. And it can be more, but the amount has to match. Now I want you to get in touch with 3 listeners and ask them to do the same thing. 10 things they know to be true about them as a person, and then 10 things they know to be true about your podcast. What you're looking for in the analysis is matches. If they are your ideal listener, they will more or less match your 10 things. Try it out and see what you get.
This is
Radio Skills for Podcasters.
Radio Skills for Podcasters.
With Kevin Field.
Well, this has been the first Radio Skills for Podcasters podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. get in touch. Tell me what you'd like me to do, maybe to solve the pain you're having with your podcast. The idea of this podcast is it takes you to the next step. I'm not telling you how to start podcasting. I'm not really telling you about equipment. We may go into detail about microphones and how to use them and things like that in the future, or how to edit properly. All of that, that's fine. But I'm not telling you how to set up your podcast. This podcast is about arming you with the skills from the radio presenter or producer's toolbox. Hopefully you've enjoyed it on this episode. Don't forget you can get in touch. It's very easy. At radio_skills on Twitter. Radio Skills for Podcasters, the page on Facebook. Come and like us. skills@radioskillsforpodcasters.com via the email. And of course, radioskillsforpodcasters.com is the website.
Next
time with Radio Skills for Podcasters.
Next time on Radio Skills for Podcasters, we look at the format of your podcast and how keeping it the same but different every week can pay dividends. See you next time.
Find us on Facebook, Google+, Radio Skills for Podcasters.
At radio_skills on Twitter.
Thanks for listening.
www.radioskillsforpodcasters.com